Hello and welcome to this UniTaster On Demand event today. My name is John Sheik. I'm here from UniTasterDays, and it's my job to introduce the event and also introduce our speaker today. The subject we're going to be looking at is biology. And with these events, if you've not watched any before, we try and cover four main things: why you're interested, why you might be interested in the course, what to expect on it if you did decide to apply and proceed with the course, application tips and careers. And I'm absolutely delighted to have a guest expert with us today, joining us from the University of Wolverhampton. That is Gina Manning. And Gina, if I pass to you just to say a quick hello before we go into the slides.
Hello everyone, so I'm Gina Manning, I'm University of Wolverhampton. I am a biologist. I'm actually a microbiologist by training, and my degree I did biological sciences, so hopefully I'll give you some insight into the courses today. Okay, so I'm going to give you an introduction to studying biology at university and some of the things to think about. So what we're going to cover then today is what is biology. It's a very broad subject, so we'll cover some of those aspects. The types of course that are available, because there are loads of courses out there, so let's try and unpick some of that for you today. What to look out for when applying and some tips to consider when you're applying to go to university. And then longer term, what are the career pathways that you might be able to follow as a professional biologist? So what is biology? So I think you all know it's the study of life. But it's hugely broad. So you might be studying biology from the molecular level, you might be studying the DNA, the genes involved in how a cell works, you might be studying cell biology itself, or even tissues and organ systems and how they all work. You may then expand that out into whole organisms, and that might be the human body, that might be animals, plants, or even microorganisms too. And then that would develop into how those populations behave and into ecosystems too. So it's hugely broad as a subject, and it's ever expanding as we learn more and more about the subject. So it's a big field to understand. So what about the types of courses that are available then? So the traditional course is probably the Bachelor of Science, the BSc in biology. So this would be a 3-year course generally, that you'd be able to study that either full-time or part-time. Some universities offer what's called an MSci in biology, and this is an integrated master's. So for this particular course, you would study 3 years at undergraduate level and then an extra year at master's level, and that would all be part and parcel of the same 4-year course. You might also want to study your biology course with a sandwich placement or as a foundation year. So these would probably be 4-year courses. So the sandwich placement, usually you would then go out to industry for a year for a work placement, usually after your 2nd year of study. And then the foundation degrees there are useful if you've perhaps not done as well as you wanted to do in your exams, your A-level, your BTEC, whatever it might be. Or you decide that you actually want to change field slightly and you haven't got the relevant background. So universities offering a foundation year will often help you to sort of get up to speed so that you can study successfully the subject then that you want to do. So what types of course, what are the names of some of the courses? And if you look on UCAS, there are over 1,000 different courses available at universities with biology in the title. So it's a huge, big area to study, and you might get a little bit overwhelmed. So some of the general courses that are available might have titles such as straight biology or bioscience. Some courses might have biosciences. In other areas, it might be applied bioscience or biosciences or biological sciences. So these would be fairly general biology degrees that would give you a flavour of all different aspects. And in many cases, you get to start off broad in the 1st year and then perhaps choose to specialise in something that interests you in the 2nd and 3rd year of studies. If you do know what you're interested in, there might be certain disciplines within biology that you're keen on. So for example, biochemistry, genetics and microbiology might be topics that you've already studied a little bit of, you're interested in, you know that you want to study those. So there will be universities out there that will offer you BSc degrees in any one of those subject areas directly. Again, you might have a little inkling as to more specialist subject areas that you want to study. So again, there are the options there, such as marine biology, human biology. If you know, you definitely want to study the human biology in more depth, plant biology or botany, and animal biology and zoology. So they're all different aspects of biology. And again, if you know that you want to study one more than another, it might be worth looking at those kinds of courses too. I'm just going to mention biomedical science here as well at this point. So it's also classed as a bioscience course in overall, but biomedical science really is more focused upon human. And if you study biomedical science, it's very often the degree that you might need to study if you want to go and work in a hospital laboratory or hospital pathology laboratory in the future. But there are other universities that offer biomedical sciences, which are more broad and maybe fit with their research in the area of biomedical science. So it's worth having a look at that one as well. Just some example titles of courses. These are some of the courses that we offer here, but just to really give you a flavour for, even one university can offer several different titles. So animal behaviour and wildlife conservation, biological sciences, biology with secondary education, which integrates teaching qualification with the degree, biomedical science, medical science and physiology, and healthcare sciences, all different titles that you might come across. So it's just to get your feel for the variety really of courses that are out there and the variety of titles that you might come across. The other way that you might consider studying as well is, rather than going to university to do a BSc as a full-time or a part-time course, you could consider an apprenticeship, and more these are becoming available. And this is the opportunity where you can actually earn while you learn. So for an apprenticeship, you would be employed by an employer, and then the employer would actually fund you to go to university to study for a qualification. And that could be you might get a qualification after 2 years of study, or you might get a qualification after completing a degree. So it's well worth considering, and have a look on the website there, either on different universities, or go to the government website that I've put the link in there relating to apprenticeships to learn a little bit more about them. So how might you study? So I think many people think of going to university, you've got a traditional lecture. Well, we still do lectures, and we still have lecture theatres where you've got a large number of students in one place. And it's a good way to get across information in a relatively straightforward manner. I think gone are the days where the lecturer stands at the front with a piece of chalk and a blackboard and writes on the board. They're much more interactive these days. And there's a lot of technology that's involved now where we can interact with our students in a much better way. So the lecture is still there, it still has its place. You might also be studying in a lab, and it's quite highly likely that you will. I'm in a lab here today, so you would be in the laboratory when you're studying biology. It's a very practical based subject. If you're studying more ecology, environmental side of biology, then you're more likely to get out into the field. So you're likely to do a lot of field work as well. In addition to that, you may well have some smaller group sessions. So they may be tutorials or workshops where you're working on tasks and problems in small groups. And then there's always the opportunity for you to work yourselves in small groups as well. And many universities nowadays have lots of social spaces around to encourage students to do that study together, which will help you along the way. And all of your studies then are going to be supported by what we call our virtual learning environment. If you're at schools and colleges, you're probably already familiar with those. And this is where we put a lot of our learning resources, the lecture materials, any reading resources that we want you to do, quizzes, discussions, that kind of thing. So there'll always be one of those to underpin your studies. And every university uses a slightly different system. So you might want to just look into that when you go. So you're going to develop a lot of skills. You're going to develop a lot of knowledge, obviously, but the skills equally are important. You're going to develop a range of technical skills. So that might be skills in the laboratory or out in the field, but you'll also develop a lot of numeracy and analytical skills too, along with computational skills, data handling, and also bioinformatics too. As well as that, you'll pick up a load of transferable skills too. So these are the skills that the employers are really interested in. So they're things like team working, problem solving, communication, organizational skills, as well as an awareness of ethics and ethical situations. So what should you consider when applying? So think about where you want to go. So do you want to move away from home? Are you happy staying at home and commuting to university? Do you want to live on a university campus? Those are things to consider, and nowadays are quite important. Have a look at the entry requirements. So most universities will give you their entry requirements to whether you've got A-levels, a BTEC, you might have an access to HE as well. So have a look at that. In many cases, you're going to need science. In many cases for biology, you're going to need biology there. You may need chemistry, but it's not absolutely essential for all courses. But again, that's something to check. And also maths. You're unlikely that you're going to need A-level maths, but a good knowledge and understanding of maths might help you, particularly when you're doing data analysis in biology as well. Go and have a look at the facilities and equipment of the university too. What do they look like? Are you happy with the facilities? Do they look like they're well managed and well maintained? And what's the expertise at the university? So if you know that you're particularly interested in a subject area, let's say genetics, have a look at that university that you're interested in. Do they have a good research in genetics? Have they got good facilities to support your learning in that subject area? And what support is provided to you as a student? That's equally important. Many universities offer a wealth of support for you, but just consider that we're all different, we're all human, we need that support at times. So just check that out as well and have a look at that, what the university is offering. And also, is course accreditation important to you? So many courses within the UK now, biology courses, are accredited by the Royal Society of Biology. This is our professional body in biology. And they accredit courses having done a rigorous assessment of the courses to make sure that the courses are offering you as a graduate all of the skills and the techniques that you need to be able to go on to be successful in your employment as a graduate. But not all courses offer it, and it may be something that you're not particularly that fussed about. When I mentioned biomedical science earlier, there are a number of courses there that would be accredited by the Institute of Biomedical Science too, and that would be important if you wanted to go and work in a hospital pathology laboratory. So again, that's something to think about as well. So what can you do after your degree? So biology is a very broad subject, so there's a whole range of different things that you can do with biology as a degree. So as a professional biologist, you can go into a range of different things. It's not all about going to work in a laboratory, but clearly that is a big area. So you could go and work in the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry is quite big. You might go and work for a government agency where you might carry out certain research, but other things too. So graduates might go on to teach, they might go on to do public engagement, scientific communication, scientific writing, journalism, a whole range of different things that as a professional biologist that you might do. If you were interested in learning more about that, then the Royal Society of Biology does have some really great resources on that, and there's a link there at the bottom of this particular slide. In terms of the different disciplines of being a professional biologist then, there are a range. If you're an animal biologist, then you might be studying animal behaviour to help conserve them as a species. If you're a biomedical researcher, then you might be looking to find ways to cure a disease or to treat a disease. An ecological consultant, you might be out there supporting large businesses and projects to maintain biodiversity in a particular environment. As an epidemiologist, then you might be a disease detective trying to seek the cause of that disease and how you're going to control it. Geneticists would use genetic information and DNA tests to treat patients that might have genetic disorders. Microbiologists would have a role in all sorts of areas, possibly developing vaccines, investigating microbes that cause disease, or even microorganisms in food. And as a plant scientist, then you might help food producers to actually feed what is now a growing population. So a range of different opportunities out there. And there is an initiative year on year, #IamABiologist. If you follow social media, you might want to have a look at that and see what some real professional biologists actually get up to on a day-to-day basis. So what are the next steps? So I guess you need to think about the where you might want to go, what kind of course you want to look at. So choose a selection and a range of different universities. You can have a look at the UCAS website for this, or the Discover Uni website as well, to give you a flavour for what's out there. I think importantly, go and visit them. See if you can go on an open day to have a look at the university. If you can't get there in person, some universities are still offering virtual open days. But I think that's really useful because you can go and visit them, have a look at the facilities and see whether you think you're going to fit there. Is this a university for you? Can you see yourself as being a student there? Who's going to teach you? Are you going to be taught by relevant experts? And get to know those people who are actually going to teach you and think about how they're going to teach you. And also, how are you going to be assessed? You should be able to ask those questions when you go on an open day as well. And if you're worried about being assessed by an exam, you can find out a little bit more about how they might do that. Go and chat to current students as well. That's a really useful thing to be able to do on an open day. And that's where you can actually find out what it's really like to be a student. And current students are very honest generally about their time at university, because that's a really good thing to be able to do. So finally, here are some useful resources. Again, I've put the Royal Society of Biology website there, along with some of the other professional bodies and learned societies, so the Microbiology Society, the Biochemistry Society, etc., as well as UCAS and Discover Uni. So hope that you've enjoyed that. Just remains for me to say good luck with your studies, and thank you for listening.